This is the electric board that we use for commercial installations. It is a little bit more costly, but it is so nice and so efficient. It's actually manufactured by George Switchboards. They manufactured this whole board custom made for us. This is a domestic hot water installation. We've got our element switches here in the two different tanks. We've got a left and a right tank, each tank being 1,000 liters. You've got an emergency bypass should you ever need it. You've got your hot water heat pump computer over here. We've got our internet connection, so we can dial in to this whole system and see all the temperatures and pressures and all the parameters on this heat pump from anywhere in the world. This is an internet gateway, so you can basically go onto any browser, any internet browser, and you can look into this whole system with a password. It's so efficient, it's so impressive. Alright, this is the heat pump computer. These are our circuit breakers for the heat, our mains, our two heaters and the heat pump. And this is a UPS backup that keeps the computer running while, should there ever be a power problem, so that remotely you can still see the parameters. You can see if there's a phase down, you can see if there's a power loss. You can do all this because the UPS is still backing up the two different computers. Alright, just to show what you're actually getting on the inside here. These boards are rather costly. The cost of this board was in the region of 14,000. But when you see what you actually get on the inside, you can actually understand why it is easier and more efficient to go for such a system. Stiebel Eltron supplies these units independently. They supply the computer and they supply the internet gateway. And you could actually have this installed in a main board by your electrician if you want to save on costs. You can have these boxes put in individually. But when you see the time that it takes to do this board I actually did myself on site. I've still got to neaten up the wires. But this board actually took me an entire day. Now, if you take our cost and our labor and everything else, plus the materials, the relays and everything else that went into the system, the backup power supplies, the time that it takes, plus the materials, comes to the same price as what you would pay for this board in the end. You know, so I mean, on the one hand, I've had a lot of requests for people just asking me to mount this straight onto the wall and forget about the rest of the board. But when you see what you get here, it's six of one, half a dozen of another. It's pointless to actually go and do this on the wall, try and mount this in separate boxes, try and feed the wires from one box to another. It's your electrician's time. No electrician is going to do this in under a day, working at 3,500 Rand a day. And then the materials pumped into this board alone was about 6,000 Rand for the surge arresters, the relays, the phase control relay. So if you take 6.5 plus say 2 days labor for the electrician, you already come to 14,000. When in the end you could just as well pay the George Switchboard company to do it professionally. What you actually have in this board is an emergency bypass. Should ever anything go wrong, say lightning knocks out a computer or lightning hits out a power supply, you can come here and you can bypass it by switching over manually to the elements, and the elements will keep the system going. Over here I've got a 3-phase power supply protection. We have got this problem a lot here, especially in the Cape Town area, that the municipality drops off one of the 3 phases. And if one phase is gone, then the compressor still runs, but then it kicks out an error on the computer and you have got to manually get somebody in here to reset the computer. With this system, it automatically tells the computer that there's a power problem, the computer doesn't go into error mode, and when the power has been restored by the municipality, automatically this thing will reset itself and it will continue to work. Further down here I've got 2 big contactors for the 2 big elements that are inside the tanks, which can remotely be controlled by the computer. If there's ever a problem, the computer can switch into emergency mode by itself and it can switch on the elements without you physically having to go and switch on the elements. Over here we've got a UPS backup supply that supplies these 2 controllers. And in the bottom here, which you can't really see, you've got all the network cables and the signal cables coming to this box from the heat pump and from the circulation pumps. That's our electronic board. Alright, thank you. Hi, this is a new board that we've just had made up. It's a little bit of an advancement on that board that you saw now in the previous video. This entire board was actually pre-wired by the manufacturer for us. The difference between that board and this board is that we've actually added pilot lights where it makes it so much more easy for troubleshooting, whether it's for the electrician or for the client. Instead of having to go into the computer and scroll through the different programs to see what type of outputs are being put out, the lights will basically come on. These are very low wattage lights. They're LED pilot lights, so they use almost no electricity. But it's very nice. When the computer is actually putting out a signal to the circulation pump, or the underfloor pump, or whether the ripple relay is taking effect, if you've got a problem with the power, you can immediately open the doors. You can phone either one of the technicians at Stiebel Eltron, and you can speak to them and they will tell you. If you see that the ripple relay light is on, they can tell you that there's a problem with one of the phases, or there's a power supply problem. This tells you whether the power for the UPS is still on. It's really, really nice. Okay, if we look on the inside, this board isn't completed yet. We still have to put the power supply in the bottom, but this will just give you a bit of an idea of what it looks like. Here at the bottom we've got our UPS. We've got a heat deflector on here so that the heat doesn't go onto the electronics. This is basically what it looks like. It is so nicely done. It is so professional. Every single one of these wires have been ended with a proper wire clamp. It sits on wire racks. Everything has been tied down with tie-ons. It is neat. It's got neutral bars here. There's a neutral bar for the UPS. Your contactors are inside. Your phase rotation relay is here on the side. On the inside, if there's ever a problem with the circulation pumps, you've got fuses here that you can basically change. From start to finish, it is a proper professionally manufactured board. It is really so nice. Any electrician or anybody that actually opens up this board or has a little bit of technical knowledge can actually work on this and troubleshoot the problem immediately. Here you've got your two main circuit breakers, relays for the elements in the tanks, for your backup elements. Once again, at the bottom here we're going to have our internet gateway for the heat pump computer, and then you can remotely troubleshoot whatever goes on in this box. Or else, if you don't remotely troubleshoot it, you can basically get your electrician to tell you what lights are flashing. And from this alone, you can basically troubleshoot the whole system within a few minutes. It is really nice. I am so impressed with this board. It is professional. Thank you. Those are electric boards.